On this Byron Lazine podcast, I get to sit down with the Propstream boys, Burton Alicando and Chris Hardwick. These guys are a lot of fun. I love talking about the data that they have at their fingertips, how you can use it to actually generate leads, not just learn and educate, but generate leads for your business. And oh, by the way, how you can actually start building an asset class for yourself that pays you in your sleep. Don't want to miss this pod. All right, the party boys from Propstream. I mean, right? We're fresh off of the band bash.
Oh, wow. Oh gosh,
wild times.
So much fun last night.
I love hanging out with you guys, and it's funny because we got to know each other through a relationship with BAM, and it's fun. A lot of people reach out to BAM. And they're like, hey, I've got to believe in the product, and we're going to talk about this Propstream product because, and the reason I wanted to have you guys on here because you articulate it so well. And it really does help agents, right? Like having built a team in Connecticut up to the level that it's at, almost 1,000 transactions, those guys will do this year. And,
nice.
It's unbelievable, right? And I get to see a lot of products. And then with BAM, it's like I get to see a whole lot more because everybody wants the BAM exposure.
Right.
And it's like I just can't talk about anybody on BAM because if it's not something that I would use like this with my team to generate more business, then I really can't talk about it. I gotta believe in it, right? And that's what's so good. Cool about this. Plus, you guys are fun, right? And we're gonna have some fun.
Which adds to the value, right?
Yeah, that adds. So, I think when people look at, how do I generate more leads, right? It's a lot of, and listen, I'm a big proponent. If you watch my content, like you've got to get out there and talk to people. So
100%.
How do you talk to people? Well, open house. Well, open house, I'm a big believer, and there's going to be people in the comments, Byron, and go into the comments right now if you disagree and you think open houses are a waste of time, or hit the thumbs up button if you think they're a great use of your time. But that is also an introduction, right, Chris? Like I'm going to be introduced to you at an open house, and then maybe further down the line, I'm going to have the opportunity to serve you at a high level. And if I'm going to be that like Burton, if I'm going to be that professional that serves, I'm going to need to really be able to educate. I'm going to be able to pull, information and data that they haven't heard from the other 9 agents that they just met because they likely went from open house to open house to open house. And they're meeting a whole bunch of them.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
And so people probably look at Propstream, it's like, it's just data. We're going to talk about how it can actually generate leads.
Correct.
Right. But let's jump in first to the data side of things.
Right.
And what kind of information you can get.
Oh, absolutely. That's a really good question. So let's start with the beginning. So in 2006, when Propstream was founded.
Have you been here the whole time?
No, actually, I started with Propstream
in
2013.
You look pretty young.
Yeah, I'm 16. Just turned. No. So I joined Propstream in 2013. But the
Back
history
in
is
18. I was, just before
1898. So in 2006, Propstream was founded, and the whole purpose was to do what agents and essentially anybody that's a real estate profession was doing back then, and that was gathering records physically. Right. So they would go to the county or the recorder's office and physically grab that record. And they would either filter it manually there, right? They would separate the commercials or certain characteristics that they wanted, or they would take it back and then have their team do it. That would take a day, 2, 3. So
by the way, there are still a few towns left. Like in the comments, are you serving one of those towns where you still have to go to the town hall or the county hall and get that information? Like not 100% of it is still, believe it or not, online.
You're absolutely right about that. Yeah. I'm sure you guys are probably nodding your head right now. Like this guy's actually right. As a matter of fact, we discovered that it took hours, days to gather that information. And not only that, but once you filtered it manually, you then have to market to these leads. And then when these leads called you back, you didn't know anything about it, right? Like you had very primitive information back then, right? So if you got that pre-foreclosure list, you're not going to see their mortgage information. You're not going to see their tax information. So we made it our mission to go get data that was like scattered everywhere in the dark corner of real estate, from mortgage, current mortgage, past mortgages, MLS data nationwide to bankruptcies, you name it. It's all in Propstream. But just like you mentioned, no two counties have the same format, right?
Yeah.
So we had to take whatever format it was on, whether it was paperback, whether it was electronic, whether it's on those, print out those fax papers with hole rings on the side. We had to put it all in our server and provide a visual behind it. And that was the hardest part. how do we make data that doesn't connect to each other or weren't together communicate with one another? And we did just that. So 16 years later, what people are able to do with Propstream is they're able to either analyze an individual property. So you can search an address because someone called you and they wanted to sell the house. And now you can know John and Jane's information, their property characteristics, their situational data. Like, did they buy it in cash 10 years ago? That's why they don't, they have 100% equity. Or is there a finance? Was it bought with the mortgage?
That's a different conversation than somebody else who's sitting at 6% interest rate. And it's a different conversation of somebody sitting at, they just like refinanced at 2.5 in the last couple of years, right?
Absolutely.
These are all different conversations on how you're going to serve their needs.
Exactly. And imagine in the past, before technology, before the software came, you guys were going in there blindly. Yeah. Right? You would call this homeowner, they would call you, and you had to ask about the property characteristics. You had to ask if there was a note. You had to ask if there was any.
And you hope that they knew it, right?
Have either of you guys ever been an agent?
No. Actually, it's funny. I've taken courses,
classes, but never.
Not the state exam.
So you haven't gone and pitched a listing. All right, no. So I'll tell you how it is. When you go and pitch a listing, a lot of times, and you ask those questions, sometimes you get wrong answers, and a lot of times you get, I don't know. I mean, I've owned the house 15 years, never been a problem. And by the way, Chris, it's the greatest house of all time. I will tell you that. It's definitely the greatest house ever. You've never seen a better house, right? Like, homeowners are the best marketers of the house by far.
Yeah, they will, and they always want that full price, right? Even if there's like flooding that just occurred the other day. But that's the thing, is we provide the agents, the real estate professionals, this data ahead of time. So when that homeowner calls you, you can type in that address and their house was built in 1972. Yeah. So instead of asking, when was your house built? Now you can come at it as, hey, I see your house is 50 years old. I mean, when's the last time you did the roof? When's the last time you changed the window panes, or whatever it may be, right? So we're trying to equip our agents with that picture before going in there blindly.
And Burton, absolutely. And I would suggest, hey, your house is 50 years old. Have you ever changed the roof? No. I would suggest you maybe say it like this. Hey, in the last 50 years, tell me all of the investments that have been put into this house.
What have you done?
That is a gem. You guys better write that one down. That's a good one.
Like, just tell me, walk me through. And right, absolutely. Have the notebook out. Be the person that's curious and the professional that's actually courteous enough to take the information down. Tell me about all the investments you've made over the last 50 years. And some sellers are going to just be like, I haven't done anything.
Right.
Oh, okay. So would you agree that then it's likely a buyer may come in here, Chris, and want to do a few things, right? They may want to upgrade the roof. They may want to make some, but that's on them. Yeah, absolutely understood. And we're just going to, look at some information that, is going to compare what new and what current state is on price, right? And you're going to be able to decide your price, Chris. So I'm just going to give you the information. It's your house, it's your dirt. Right, you're the one selling it. I'm not cashing the check. I'm just going to help you. And that is going to help you get there.
That is exactly what we're seeing and hearing, from agents. And so again, our data is just to prepare you for that conversation that you're going to have, whether it's 5 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, because you have to hear about their story and their pain points. Yeah. But you'll get property details, you'll get situational data. We'll give you finance information, so you'll know if there's a note or 2 or 3. We actually collect up to 4 positions. And we actually give you comps, right? Now, most of you guys probably already have access to the MLS, so feel free to use your own system, but we're nationwide. So in case that homeowner might want to sell mom's house in a different state, we're going to be able to provide you public record sales and MLS sales in that different county that you're in. So nationwide, but that's just one aspect, right? Analyzing that individual property. That was the hard part. How do we get all this data and put it on this individual property? Once we did that, the next part was, can we allow our professionals to manipulate that data? So now, not only can you analyze individual properties, but you can use Propstream to do lead generation.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting, because, and this is where I was like, this works for my team, and if it works for my team, I'm willing to talk about it.
Yes,
we've had almost 50 agents, in the team in Connecticut. Like, we need to generate leads. We want to be the leader of lead gen in the entire state. Right. And so, there's a lot of different angles you can go on lead gen here.
Absolutely.
I liked the, finding the homes that an investor would look for, because it oftentimes can equal even, I like to buy deals, and I want to get into a little bit of that. Like, agents, why aren't you investing? Why aren't you on the 94% of the property, always fighting for the 5 or the 6%? get on the 94, 95%, the equity
Absolutely.
side by buying these deals before you list them. And if you're using data like this, where it's like, okay, this is somebody who's owned the house for 30 years, right? And oh, by the way, they don't have a mortgage. And oh, by the way, they're an absentee landlord, right? Yes. This might be somebody I want to reach out to and just have a conversation with, Chris, and be like, hey, I'm Byron, I'm a local real estate professional, and I just want to create a relationship. Like, if there's anything I can ever do for you, if there's any value I can ever add to you, and just listen and see what they say and start creating a relationship, because at some point that person's probably thinking about selling, right? And I might be able to buy the property from you direct as the agent. I might be able to get seller financing from you, which I love that deal. I love that idea of maybe a little seller finance I can refi in a couple of years.
Long-term gain. I love it. Yeah.
I'm taking absolutely no risk, preferably. But I also might be able to get a listing for myself, right? And so if I'm having these conversations over and over again, and I'm keeping in mind all these different options that are available to me as a real estate professional, I'm going to maybe wear my agent hat, I'm going to wear my buyer hat, whatever the case. Maybe I'm just going to wear my relationship building hat right now, because you find out, oh, they own another 30 properties. And oh, by the way, they've got a network in this community. And oh, by the way, like, there's just so many different avenues you can go down by having conversations. And when you're backing it with data, it just becomes explosive.
Oh, I love that you mentioned that, and again, that having that data equips you for those tough conversations, or just like you mentioned, being able to even analyze your buyer, right? And the cool thing about Propstream is that, we have cash buyer records, or you can, let's say you bump into a buyer at an open house, ask them for an address they recently flipped or invested in. You can type in that address and we can show you all the characteristics on that property. So you can use our data to kind of understand that portfolio of properties that that buyer might be interested in. And then from there, you can use our search filter to find off-market properties that fit that specific criteria for your buyer, or you might be the buyer. Something that you want, like a lot of equity, perhaps it's vacant, or perhaps it might have a delinquency on it, or they're a tired landlord, like you mentioned. We have, like, I believe, how many categories, Chris, do we have in terms of a list that you can choose?
Let's see, I think we have over 18 quick list choices and
that are set up.
That are already set up, easy for you to select from: pre-foreclosures, pre-probate, auctions, tax delinquencies, all under one roof. And then we have 7 different categories with over 120 different filters.
So I don't have to come up with those. I can just go and do that, right? And I'm curious, just in the market we're in right now, you hear a lot of people saying, hey, I'm going to wait for the market to go down. There's going to be all these deals. It's going to be like 07, which I do a bunch of content, obviously.
We're hearing that as well.
In the comments.
All the time.
What's your thoughts on that? Do you feel overwhelmed and too busy building your real estate business right now to do things you know you should be doing, like posting on social media, doing clips like we're doing on Broke Agent Media, these short little reels and TikToks every single day to keep up with the content machine that you need to be keeping up with? Or maybe it's the transactions that are wasting all your time, so you're not actually lead generating and doing the income producing activities that you know are going to help you make the most amount of money in the investments that you want into your future. This is why I have used virtual assistants and use them today with VirtueDesk to help scale both of my companies. See, I wouldn't be able to make all of these clips and do all of these other things I'm doing without the help of somebody taking off these non-income producing activities that need to get done to be of great service to our clients. So at least have the conversation. Click the link, have the conversation with VirtueDesk. In fact, you can just start interviewing people without really any commitment at all. So at least start interviewing, seeing if there's somebody that is a fit for you, your values, your team, that can add and take away all of the things that you're doing right now. Have the conversation today. You will not regret it. Well, if that was the case, we'd probably see a huge spike in pre-foreclosures. You guys have the data. Are we seeing a spike in, because you got the whole country here mapped out, are you seeing an uptick on pre-foreclosure properties right now?
Well, what we're seeing is that, no 2 areas are the same, right? And so you have areas that are affected by the current events that are happening, like the inflation or the interest rates increasing, while some markets, we're not seeing any change at all, right? You're seeing data still being the same, right? Houses are still selling above asking prices in some markets. So it's not like across the board right now. We're not seeing any of that. It's more kind of sporadic in certain areas. But one thing for sure that we're seeing is that we're still seeing a lot of flippers. We're still seeing a lot of cash buyers out there. So we're not seeing anybody scared in a sense. right? And looking in most markets in the last 30 days, you're going to find several hundred buyers. So to me, I think we're not kind of where we're at in 2007 where we saw that, that madness. But I think there is a little bit of doubt, perhaps, because of just, the news that you're hearing. That might cause some doubt for people to want to buy. I mean, I myself, wanting to buy a home, I've even had a doubt. Like, should I buy now or should I wait?
You're not a homeowner?
No, not at the moment.
What about you, Chris?
No, renter.
Yeah. Okay.
We're in Southern California, so you can imagine why it's hard to buy a home out there.
I know.
You got to be like a streamer, YouTuber or something, right?
Yeah,
TikTok
exactly.
famous.
TikTok guy.
What
TikTok
do you do
famous.
for a living? One of those guys. Yeah.
Bam bash. Let's go.
Bam.
There you
OC.
go.
Actually, we're gonna be in OC here, but
Oh, that's our hometown, so make sure you stop by and say hi.
I definitely would like to. So no, you're right that the affordability is going to hold you back a little bit, but are you taking that out? Would you jump into homeownership right now in this market, having all the information that you have? And how can agents, if the answer is yes, why? And then what can agents do to help better educate people that not just buy a house because I say so, but now's the right time to do it?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say with our system, what we're noticing is especially with the MLS sales, the days on market are slightly increasing, right? Mm-hmm. So like in 2021, you put a house on market. I mean, there were cars out the door and that house would probably sell within a week and it would sell probably about 15% over asking prices. Now what we're seeing is, or at least in the data, certain markets, I'm seeing just the DOM or the days on market just slightly increase, right? Yeah. They're still selling.
So would you buy a house though? Are you comfortable?
I would, because if you're buying a house and your expectation is I got to let it go in 5 years, then I wouldn't, right? But as far as I know, and everybody that I follow and all the successful people that are my role models, it's all long term, mm-hmm. right? So even if I buy today and the market were to go in the opposite direction, just hold, right? Look what happened in 2007 and look where we're at today, right? It only took 13 years to get these values to, pretty much near the same back in the day. So I'm confident because I know that buying a property is a long-term thing. But for those that are looking to maybe do a flip, maybe in a year or two, I don't know. I would say do some research in your particular market because not all markets are going to be affected by the current events.
Yeah, that's great.
For example, Texas, they're a weird anomaly. That's like they're almost in their bubble where they've just been selling since the pandemic, right? It's been over asking since.
And knowing your local market, you obviously know you're like, wow, these prices are really high in Orange County. Maybe that's why I haven't gotten serious about it. What about you, Chris? Would you buy right now or are you fearful of it?
I think I would. Yeah. And right now, actually, my girlfriend and I are house hunting.
All right.
So we're looking for places in Huntington Beach and some other areas, but it's just going off of Burton's point where even with the interest rates going up, it's a long-term goal.
So you're house hunting.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be very, this is going to be very good for agents. Your perspective as a buyer. Now, it's a different perspective because you're in the real estate industry working for Propstream, but you're a young buyer looking for houses right now in a high-priced market. You also have some experience in the real estate industry. What should agents be doing to get your attention for you to choose them as the agent to work with?
Ooh, okay. So the person we have right now, they've really been nurturing the relationship. So we met them once for one open house, very friendly, very personable. But after that, it was all the follow-up and all of the resources and the help that they provided because we have no idea what we're doing. It's scary.
And how did they follow up that got you to stick with them?
They were just sending us emails and sending us texts every other week and just saying, hey, we found some new homes you think you might be interested in, or here's a lender that you could work with. And just kind of anytime we have questions, they're always available. Just so friendly.
So it was the simple agents. It was the simple follow up. If they didn't follow up, would you have sought them out?
I don't know. I don't know if we would have. I think it was the fact that they reached out that it showed us that he cares.
Yeah.
Right. And we're like, okay, he's trying to help us and he really wants us to find a home that we love. And we're still getting. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, what if so?
We have my good side.
So this agent followed up. what if you go to another open house, meet another agent, they follow up just as well? Are you locked into this agent because they did it first, you create a relationship, or would you switch? Like, I think this is just, agents think about this stuff all the time.
Right.
And so, you know, I'm just happy to hear that like somebody followed up
right,
and that, you know, guys, follow up works, right? Like follow up absolutely works.
It really does.
You know, so are you kind of like, has that trust been built to the point now where you're like locked in?
I think so. I think if someone else tried the same thing, Justin's our guy now. So
yeah. There you go.
Shout out Justin.
Shout out Justin.
Justin's our guy though. And yeah, I think we're loyal. So we're just going to stick with him, I think. But the follow-up and the nurturing and the showing you really care.
And was this? And you said the open house was the first time you met Justin, right?
First time, yeah. We just shut up for an open house.
By the way, we didn't talk about this before the pod, and that's uniquely how I started the pod, talking about like the open house is an introduction, and then it's what you do after to have those conversations and to show that you care. And to me, because I've always been about like being able to have an intelligent conversation, especially if somebody really cares about the monetary value of the purchase or the sale or the investment, depending on who you're working with. I want to be able to step right in and be that person that's able to lay out what that looks like from a financial standpoint, like an advisor would do if you're sitting down and planning your retirement. And to me, that's what like getting all the data at my fingertips, whether it's, the MLS and whatever the apps are on the MLS, and then having, something like Propstream on top of that, so that you have by the way, I look at public data. Like I look at the data center on Zillow and on Redfin, and I think that agents should look at all of it, like know what your consumer's looking at, and then know like the deep data, right? And being able to like go apples to oranges with it.
It's actually funny that you said that. We have this feature called List Automator. And because we've been in this industry a long time, we understand that we're not the only source of data. We understand that agents will get data locally or by referral. So one of our features is we allow people to take an Excel sheet with the name of the homeowner and the address, or just the address, right? So if you upload the address, city, state, and zip code into Propstream, you'll actually append our information. And you'll be able to see the mortgage info, any other situation that source that you got didn't show, property characteristics. And then we also have the marketing stuff, right? So like after you upload and get the data, you'll know which is high and low equity, and you could skip trace it and send postcards and all that stuff. But that's the cool part, is because we know that just having all that data ahead of time helps you make better decisions, right? Because in this industry, one mistake could cost you not only a client, but it could be a very bad penalty financially.
Yeah. Well, not following up will cost you the client for sure.
Exactly.
And then, but also to your point, you could be following up and you make a mistake on numbers or something like that, you could lose them forever.
Exactly. And so that was the whole idea is, hey, look, if you're going to get data elsewhere, here's how we can help. Bring it on over. You'll be able to get our data on top of their data, hopefully make better decisions, and then take it from there. Yeah. So it's called List Automator. It's our import feature. It's been doing very, very well. Again, when you're grabbing outside lists. But I know a lot of you guys are sitting on some old lists, and I don't blame you. These leads are very expensive, and I've seen a lot of real estate agents, they'll buy a list, like a vacant list, and they'll buy it, like, say, a year ago. And they'll keep it on their desktop. And
they're still hammering that one list.
Right. Yeah. Or they'll lose confidence in it, right? Because it's a year old and you don't know if these properties are still vacant or have equity or sold. So with List Automator, you could take a year-old list, import it, and refresh that data. Yeah. So you'll know whether those houses are still under that same ownership, or if it's not, delete the ones that are under new ownership and still go after the ones.
Maybe it went through an estate, right? And so now, pass through to somebody else, like there's a lot of different scenarios that can happen. I want to wrap this thing up with what I'm most passionate about for real estate agents, team leaders, anybody in holding a real estate license of any type right now. It's because listen, I think the advice to both you guys is figure out how to afford a house in Orange County. It's only going to go up.
Yeah.
The advice for everybody, when I talk to, David Childers, when I talk to so many people in this industry that, like you guys, that are looking at all this data, it becomes very clear that right now you want to accumulate as much real estate as you possibly can. It's why do you think all of these investors and institutional buyers are going out and grabbing all these single family homes?
Correct.
Because it's a great asset class for them to hold. You're holding a license. Go grab as much real estate as you can. So for like both of you guys, let us know what are the best tools in the Propstream that I can go and utilize to find deals that I can potentially buy myself. I want to buy deals and start holding real estate, right? And start renting real estate. What tool can I use to do that with most effectively?
You want to take that one, Chris? Or?
Yeah, I can get started with that one. Well, first thing, you definitely want to figure out your scope, right? Where do you want to buy that property at? And so a great thing with Propstream is we have so many different search methods that you can use. You can draw directly on the map so that you can find properties in a really specific area, or you can do a big countywide search, or you can narrow it down to specific cities or zip codes. So I think knowing all of the different search methods is really helpful because it will help you figure out that scope and search within all of that area.
Yeah, absolutely. And then from there, so you've searched and it's, what am I looking for? You know, I know what I'm looking for. What would you guys say I'm looking for to buy some of these properties off market and start the conversation of, purchasing the property?
That's a great question. And so, working with professionals and agents for the last 10 years, I've noticed that there are these core principles that we go after. And so this is how I've coined it. So there are technically two searches that you can do in Propstream. The first search is what I call the traditional search. And it mimics what agents have been doing before Propstream, right? Before technology. And that's you'd go to a county recorder's office and you'd pick a list from them, the equity list or the bankruptcy list or the pre-foreclosure list.
And so the equity list is somebody who doesn't have a
it has
mortgage.
50% or 50% more. Actually, we have a free and clear list. So that would be that.
Free and clear would be no mortgage. Equity list would be over 50% of equity. The bankruptcy list is they've gotten a notice.
Correct. There's a recording date, the bankruptcy, chapter 7, 11, or 13. Okay. We have like divorce filings and so forth. So
divorce filings, a sale's coming there.
Yeah. We even have this cool list that took us a while to create. It's called the pre-probate list. And you're probably like, what the heck? But we've been able to identify a deceased owner that still has a name attached to a property, right? And so with Propstream, you can do the traditional search, which is let me pick one of these 18 categories and then do the next core principles, which is off market, which is adding your equity and then your property and owner characteristics. And so this is what we're seeing agents do. And that's what we call the traditional search, which is your lists, off market, your equity, and then your property and owner preferences. And that's one thing that you can do. But here's a unique thing. I call it building situations. And this is new. I want to express this. I have a philosophy that a lead isn't always on a list, right? And so what I mean by that is that your next listing may not be on a pre-foreclosure list, may not be on a bankruptcy list or a high equity list. As a matter of fact, with Propstream, I have to remind people that we sell data. We don't sell lists, right? So you can go in Propstream today, and instead of choosing one of our 18 lists, you can actually build a situation. Like interest rates went up, right? Propstream collects mortgage type information. So I can go in Propstream right now, and I can go in your market, and while you're looking for pre-foreclosures and liens and bankruptcies, I can look in your market for anybody that has 7 years of ownership or more that has an adjustable rate mortgage. Now you might be wondering, why would you do that? Well, if interest rates are going up, which mortgage type will be affected by that? Adjustable rates, right? And so that means these adjustable rate homeowners may now have some challenges. They're going to have a difference. They're going to have to pay a little bit more on that mortgage. And they might end up on a lien list, a bankruptcy list, or the spouses are not agreeing. Who's going to pay that difference, right?
Yeah.
Divorce list.
Yeah.
And so this is a thing that I show agents is that you can actually build situations like look for adjustable rate mortgages, or here's a lead that comes into your office all the time that you're never going to be able to find on the list. People that have owned a property for like 10 years or more that have one bathroom. Yeah. Right? Because that 2-year-old is now 12 years old. Oh,
right? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So, there you go. So you can use our system to find owners that have had to share one bathroom, make that connection with them because we got skip tracing and marketing. And hey, if you get a 3-1 listing, I know tons of buyers that are going to take that off your hands because they're going to put that second bathroom in there, right?
Yeah.
And you might even get that listing back again as a thank you. So you might be listing a house twice, one as a 3-1 and then 6 months later as a 3-2. So these are the things that you can do in Propstream.
And then it's just getting that information and doing the things that we know works. Like when I'm hearing the pre-probate list that you're talking about, for example, that's one I want to create a sheet, with some information.
Yes.
Where I'm going to go door knock the property. Well, why would I door knock the property? probably nobody's there. Well, at some point, one of the family members is going to be going to the house and checking on the house, probably at that point once a week. Like usually, this is how it usually goes. And if you're an agent, hit the thumbs up button if you've been in this situation, right? Like where there's 3 siblings. It's always 3 for some reason. There's 3 siblings.
3, yeah.
One lives local and is going to be the one that's kind of like taking care of everything, kind of like the manager that's probably, going and checking things out once a week. One's going to be like somewhere in the middle of the country. One's going to be like on the total other opposite coast or wherever you are. The one on the opposite coast is not going to care. The one that's probably local is going to want every single penny, and the one in the middle of the country is going to be somewhere in the middle of all that, right? And so at some point, that person's going to go and be checking on the property. And if you've left them something valuable of information on the door handle, maybe we'll call them. They're usually going to be interviewing 1 to 3, 2 to 3 agents, and you just want to be one of those agents with that relevant information. So there's so many different ways, but once you get the data, whether it's the door knocking, whether it's the, you're a cold caller, whether it's the open houses, whatever it is for you to get those conversations to start happening so that you can use the appropriate data. Yeah. This is where it can really step in. And then, oh, by the way, go buy some real estate, guys. Like go buy some of the real estate for yourself. All right. I really appreciate you guys both doing this.
Likewise. Thanks for having us.
I don't ever really say, I don't wrap up pods like this, but I will say, if you guys do go and have a conversation, we have a link below with Propstream. Yeah. What I'm going to say is that you guys are so authentic, like your whole company. Everybody is so fun and like real. It's like you're going to really enjoy the experience just having a conversation with you guys and seeing if it's the right product for you and your market. But really appreciate your whole crew. You guys are awesome.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And last night hosting that event, that was incredible.
Yeah. We're going to do some more fun stuff with the Propstream boys.
Absolutely.
I just want to say thank you to everybody watching. You guys are like my superheroes. I know every day you guys are out there, and some people are cussing you out and whatnot, but at the end of the day, you're solving problems. So I just want to thank all the real estate agents out there solving problems and just helping those homeowners find their dream home and make new memories in their next place. So thank you guys so much for watching.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.